statut de l'artiste et la loi de l'artiste. Merci à vous, chers auditeurs, de nous avoir suivis. Je vous donne rendez-vous très très bientôt. D'ici là, portez-vous bien et restez branchés sur Radio Algérien International.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has highlighted the qualitative progress made by Algeria in recent years, calling for further diversification in agricultural production. Following instruction of the President of the Republic, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Hattaf, has arrived in Vienna as part of an official visit to Austria. The UN Security Council is holding today its monthly session on the situation in the Middle East, notably with regard to the Palestinian issue. The UN has said that around 143,000 people have been displaced from Al-Fasher in North Darfur state following clashes between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces. Those were the major edition, now the headlines. Those were the headlines, now the full news edition. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has highlighted the qualitative progress made by Algeria in recent years, notably in the industrial sector, emphasizing the need to boosting efforts to diversify agricultural production to contribute to self-sufficiency and boosting exports. Asia Bakar has more details in this report.
This came at the 55th edition of the Algiers International Fair, which was inaugurated here in Algiers yesterday, Monday. Visiting the electronics manufacturer's booth and Condor Household Appliances, the President of the Republic said this private company can revolutionize the sector given the strong demand for its products and their high quality. At the Civital Group booth, the President stressed the need to achieve national production of oilseeds from 2.5 to 3 million tons to pave the way for exportation to neighboring countries and beyond.
10 ans, vous allez créer la révolution. Parce que l'électroménager, actuellement, est programmé pour l'obsolescence rapide. Et c'est pour ça que le produit intact, comme les Algériens vont l'acheter, parce qu'ils ne tombent pas en obsolescence. À 56 ans, ils commencent à vieillir, avoir quelques défaillances. Mais à 10 ans, le compresseur TAC, comme à 10 ans.
C'est une première mondiale.
Bien sûr. Ils vont le critiquer parce que vous leur tuez des chaînes de production. Au moment d'abîme, le compresseur était en panne le plus tôt possible pour pouvoir fabriquer, etc.
Justement, fait les 4 500 000 de production, qu'il y en a 3 millions pour l'export. C'est-à-dire plus de presque 70% destinés à l'export.
C'est une île donc 100% algérienne. Donc il faut arriver à une production nationale au moins de 2,5 millions, 3 millions de tonnes de graines qu'il faut triturer à Koutama. Et à ce moment-là, on n'a plus de restrictions pour l'exportation de l'huile.
Exactement.
Et on libère totalement pour l'exportation vers les pays voisins, vers d'autres pays. Et on n'importera plus rien. Mieux encore, la production d'huile Takum va nous permettre de faire un boom en matière d'aliments de bétail.
At the booth of the Central Construction Establishment belonging to the military manufacturing of the Ministry of National Defense, the President invited this establishment to participate in the creation of the mining village planned in Arjubilat, Tindouf, with a view to supporting the implementation of this strategic project. Meanwhile, the President indicated that Algeria intends to build 2 to 3 field hospitals for the benefit of the Gaza Strip as soon as possible to help the medical teams on the ground and allow them to treat the injured as the Zionist entity continues its genocidal aggression in the enclave.
On d'accueil, un sas et salle de stérilisation.
On peut en fabriquer combien comme ça?
On peut fabriquer en temps...
Là, Inch'Allah, on a un temps record, je veux dire. C'est que quand on a le temps, je pense à Inch'Allah Gaza. sera obligé باش نبعثوا au moins 2 ou 3 hôpitaux تمنتاعنا البيرسونيل تاعهم ان شاء الله.
نديروا 10-15 jours maximum.
Très bien, très bien. صال de réanimation هذه ولا
salle de préopératoire. Préopératoire, donc nous sommes dans la zone non stérile. بعد ننتقلوا سي الجمهورية إلى المنطقة وين معقمة أو
véritable hôpital.
revêtement antibactérien, conducteur et antistatique.
Deux équipes chirurgicales peuvent opérer en même temps dans cette salle, Monsieur le Président. Voilà.
C'est un petit hôpital. Donc on met 10 jours pour l'assemblage, y compris les branchements.
The representative of the People's National Army, for his part, indicated that the field hospital will take 10 to 15 days to be completed. Still in the field of military manufacturing, the President of the Republic inquired about Algeria's latest achievements in the sector, notably a vehicle for transporting members of the different forces. Before visiting the Central Construction Establishment booth, the President of the Republic listened to a presentation made by the Minister of Trade and Exports Promotion, Tayyip Zitouni, on the first results of the National Exploitation Promotion Policy within the framework of the 2020-2030 vision. The President of the Republic then visited the Turkish booth in the presence of the Vice President of the Republic of Turkey, Cevdet Yılmaz, whose country is the guest of honor of this edition. Trade Minister Tayyip Zitouni sees the opportunity to call for more trade exchanges between Algeria and Turkey.
On this occasion, we call on both Algerian and Turkish companies to seize these opportunities to jointly access the African market, with which we share a free trade area which yields revenues that amount to more than $1,000 billion. Algeria also aims to achieve African integration through several major projects, notably structural projects of continental dimension.
The President of the Republic subsequently stopped at the booth of the State of Palestine, where he received explanations on the Palestinian industries, in particular with regard to the pharmaceutical company Beit Jala, founded in 1944. The President then visited the booth of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic, then that of Italy, where he welcomed Italian business investment companies in Algeria, citing in particular the production project of cereals in the south.
Let's note that nearly 700 Algerian and foreign exhibitors are participating in this year's edition of the International Fair, being held now in the exhibition hall here in Algiers. The Algiers International Fair is held under the high patronage of the President of the Republic, under the motto Exchange Bridges and Partnership and Investment Opportunities. Following instruction of the President of the Republic, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Mr. Ahmed Hattaf, arrived in Vienna as part of an official visit to Austria. The visit comes as part of cooperation, economic partnership and political dialogue between Algeria and Austria. Mr. Hattaf is expected to hold talks with officials from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the International Atomic Energy Agency, as well as the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization. The Algerian Commission for the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Korean Energy Agency aimed at strengthening technical cooperation in the fields of energy efficiency, renewable energies, and green hydrogen. Jamil Salmani has the details.
The Memorandum of Understanding was signed at the first Algerian-Korean Energy Forum by the Commissioner for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, Noureddin Yassa, and the Vice President of the Korean Energy Agency, in the presence of the Ambassador of the Republic of Korea to Algeria, Mr. Yoo Kim-jun, the Director General of the Korean International Cooperation Agency, Jang Bong-ki, and the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Farouk Khailia, as well as executives from various sectors, institutions, and experts from both countries. Mr. Yassa said that the document would help to reinforce technical cooperation between the two agencies, in addition to promoting exchange of expertise and knowledge in the fields of energy efficiency and renewable energies, green hydrogen, and clean mobility. For his part, the Vice President of the Korean Energy Agency stressed that this memorandum would make it possible to share expertise related to the energy efficiency acquired by the Korean agency in this field. For the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and National Community Abroad, the agreement confirms the commitment of both countries to reinforce bilateral cooperation and to diversify it to include all areas of activity, and to effectively implement partnership projects between the two parties, adding that this idea has been crystallized in less than 2 months.
The Minister of Agricultural and Rural Development, Mr. Youssef Sharfa, received the Director General of the Arab Organization for Agricultural Development, Ibrahim Adem Ahmed Al-Dakhiri, with whom he discussed ways of strengthening cooperation between Algeria and the Arab Organization. The two parties discussed the challenges facing the agricultural sector in the region, notably climate change, in addition to the important role that Algeria can play in boosting the joint Arab action in this field in view of the potential it enjoys. And now the representative of the Polisario Front to the United Nations and international organizations in Geneva, Habib Sharaya al-Bashir, has stressed that the presentation of an annual report on the human rights situation in the occupied Western Sahara for the first time at the UN Human Rights Council is the beginning of a process that will become an annual tradition to document the serious violations committed by the Moroccan occupation and present them to the world. Majid Mila has more.
In a press statement on the sidelines of the 56th session of the UN Human Rights Council, the Sahrawi official explained that the preparation and presentation of the report in Geneva will contribute with evidence and accurate data to document the violations, thus informing Council members, Europeans and the world of the truth and reality, and pushing the international community to take responsibility for the violation of the fundamental right, namely the right to self-determination, freedom and independence. The Polisario representative said that the report was prepared by competent and credible international organizations and experts and reviews all forms of human rights violations in the occupied territories committed by the Moroccan occupying power, including the right to expression, demonstration, arbitrary arrest and detention. The report reviews all forms of human rights violations in the occupied territories committed by the Moroccan occupying power, including the right to expression and demonstration, arbitrary detention, economic intimidation, administrative intimidation, moral and psychological intimidation, and illegal exploitation of Sahrawi natural resources. It's worth mentioning that the Swiss city of Geneva is hosting several activities in solidarity with the cause of Western Sahara, coinciding with the 56th session of the UN Human Rights Council.
The Moroccan authorities committed a massacre and miscalculation on the 24th of June 2022 when they brutally repressed African migrants attempting to enter the Spanish enclave of Melilla, according to the anonymous opinion of 3 Spanish officials who have decided to break their silence by speaking to the press. Jamil Silmani has more details.
An official from the Spanish intelligence services, an executive from the Ministry of the Interior, and an official from the Guardia Civil, the Spanish gendarmerie, have decided to give their testimonies of what happened during the infamous Melilla massacre to the Spanish newspaper Público and to the Por Causa Foundation, which conducts research into the media's treatment of migration issues. The 3 officials, who prefer to remain anonymous in order to avoid reprisals, spoke with one voice to point out that mistakes made by the Moroccan authorities in managing this tragic period which led to a true massacre. For the officials in question, one of the miscalculations made by the Moroccan authorities was the fact that they wanted at all costs to have a good image with the Spanish government by trying to show that they had total control over the passage to the enclave and that they were capable of preventing migrants from crossing. The 3 officials say the massacre took place a year after the diplomatic crisis between Madrid and Rabat, coinciding with another historic moment for the southern border, the Quetta crisis of 17 May 2021, during which Moroccan forces facilitated the entry of more than 10,000 people into this autonomous city in the space of a few hours. A year later, the Makhzen wanted to prove, in a way, that the Spanish government could count on it when it came to migration issues, and it did so in bloody fashion. Morocco has not carried out any independent investigation and has stated that a total of 23 migrants died during the Melilla massacre, but several organizations estimate the number of deaths at between 37 and over 100.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. The Palestinian death toll from the Israeli occupation's deadly aggression against the Gaza Strip since October 7th has now surged to 37,658. Medical sources reported that at least 86,237 others have also been injured in the onslaught. At least 32 people were killed and 139 others were injured in Israeli attacks that took place in the last 24 hours. Sources said that many victims are still trapped under the rubble and on the roads as rescuers are still unable to reach them. The UN Security Council is holding its monthly meeting on the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian issue. The members of the UN Security Council are expected to hear a briefing by the UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East peace process, Tor Wennesland, including the quarterly report by the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, regarding the implementation of 2334 resolution of December 23, 2016, which demanded an end to all settlement activities of the Zionist entity. The briefing by the UN Special Coordinator for the peace process also includes the latest developments in the Gaza Strip, especially the non-implementation of 2735 resolution issued on June 10th, which welcomed the proposal for a ceasefire in 3 stages. The head of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, Mr. Philippe Lazzarini, has called on his partners to respond to efforts by the Israeli occupation to dissolve the organization as it provides humanitarian aid in Gaza and throughout the region. Mr. Lazzarini said that the Zionist entity had long been critical of the agency's mandate and it is now seeking to put an end to UNRWA operation, rejecting the agency's status as a UN entity supported by an overwhelming majority of member states. Mr. Lazzarini added that the agency was subject of a concerted effort to dismantle it.
UNRWA has been a driver of human development for Palestinian refugees since its creation. It has upheld the rights to education and health when providing protection and assistance in the absence of a full-fledged state. By doing so, the agency has been a force for stability across the region and a beacon of hope for Palestinians. Today, however, UNRWA is staggering under the weight of relentless attacks. In 30 years of humanitarian work, I have never encountered such blatant disregard for the protected status of humanitarian workers, facilities and operations under international law.
The UN officials said that UNRWA still lacked the resources to fulfill its mandate. The United Nations Office for Human Rights has condemned the continued bombardment of the Israeli occupation forces against the Palestinian territories, especially the Beach Refuge camp in Gaza Strip, which led to the death and injury of many Palestinian civilians. And now the United Nations has said that around 143,000 people had been displaced from El Fasher in North Darfur state following clashes between the Sudanese army and the Rapid Support Forces. Majid Mila has more details in this report.
A statement issued by the United Nations Office of Humanitarian Affairs indicated that Sudan continues to fall into chaos, with the humanitarian crisis worsening and the conflict's horrific impact on civilians in El Fasher and the other hotspots of the conflict, adding that over the past 3 months, up to 143,000 people have been displaced from Al Fasher, North Darfur state, due to clashes between the army and the RSF in the region. The office further indicated that around 7.3 million internal displacements have been registered since mid-April 2023. Since May 10, El Fasher has been the scene of clashes between the military forces and the RSF, despite international alerts reporting fighting in the town, the center of humanitarian operations for all the states of Darfur. For her part, the humanitarian coordinator in Sudan condemned the attack, which targeted on Saturday a hospital in the town of Al Fasher in the state of North Darfur and the mother of a pharmacist in the hospital. She said in a statement that another day of violence in Sudan leads to another human tragedy in the town of Al Fasher. This time, the person who will not return to her family is a pharmacist. She died when an explosive artillery shell hit the hospital where she worked. The United Nations office stressed that each life lost in this meaningless war takes Sudan further away from peace.
Now back to Algeria. The country is celebrating National Tourism Day. It is a day to promote tourism in the country and highlight the various tourist attractions, notably in the four corners of Algeria. Now I invite you to listen to this program depicting the most famous tourist site in the capital, Algiers.
Welcome to your weekly program, Destination Algeria. I'm Jamal Samani. There are a number of great destinations in Algeria just waiting to be discovered.